Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy, and they've contracted with Volunteers of America to facilitate the certification process. So it's a certificate that the county and the city would receive. The city of Louisa and Lawrence County, this is really a very low-hanging fruit. You know, there are many resources available for folks that are seeking treatment and recovery in this area. So I think this certification it will be very easy to get. I don't think there'll be a lot of work involved because all the resources already exist. It also will not add to the amount of resources, but it will just capitalize on what's already here, what's already being done. So no new programs coming in, but what it will create is opportunities for funding for the county, for the city, and you know, down the road there'll be grants and other opportunities that present themselves. The process I think also will it will make the available resources more efficient in that the folks, the health department, schools, the treatment providers, the housing providers will all coordinate more efficiently. So we'll be able to do better with what we've got and coordinate more often and communicate more often. So I think that, and it also includes law enforcement, you know, contract with Big Sandy Detention Center. So it'll help to reduce that jail bill. It'll help to give officers other tools that they may use to help people get into treatment in lieu of incarceration if their discretion deems appropriate. I think in a nutshell, that kind of sums it up. It's a better way to communicate. It's a better way to utilize the resources that are available without adding to the list of providers, the list of resources in the area. It just helps us to be more efficient with what we've got and to present opportunity in the future to gain more funding for Louisa and for Lawrence County. There is a resolution. Do you all have a copy of that? And there would be, in the resolution, it states that there would be a coordinator that you all could appoint, and I would gladly put my hat in my proverbial cap in the ring for that position voluntarily. You know, no payment at all. Just then I would then help to organize and speak to the stakeholders that are, you know, wanting to participate, get everybody through the application process. I don't foresee this taking very long, just again because of everything that, you know, all the great work that's already being done here. There's a couple other counties that have already been certified. It's gaining momentum. I would say that, you know, we're going to see a lot of our Kentucky counties that apply for and get this certification. We'll be part of that group. Happy to take any questions. If I can answer, I will.
I have no idea what this means.
Oh, no, okay.
I have no idea what this means. I didn't get this till this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
And, I mean, that's a good thing, but it says here, be it resolved, City of Louisa and Lawrence County approve participation in a recovery-ready community certification program and commits to working with local partners and implement a community-wide strategy. I mean, has any of this preliminary work been done to see what we're committing to?
Yes, sir.
Can you have it here?
I don't have it here with me right now. So.
I might answer that a little bit better, but because I went to that meeting, now it's been a couple months. And I actually forgot about it as long as it's been since we met. I think Vince Doty from the county was there, and I don't know who else. So just pause recovery ready for just a minute, but I liken it to, again, work ready communities, or there was another one the state did a few years back. And basically it's an assessment of your community. And so the state says, well, how are you doing with workforce, with work? How are you training your people? How many jobs are you offering? There's different steps your city gets to become a work-ready community. And then all it is a label that says, we're a work-ready community, and it makes outsiders look at you and say, you're a qualified work-ready community. Ours, when it comes to work-ready, we never did officially gain the whole certification. It was called Work Ready in Progress, because we had started the application, and the city and county has never really completed. But that's the closest thing that I liken it to, that I think people could understand. And the state asks you to take a self-assessment of your own city and county and say, how do you stand on workforce, or in this case, how do you stand on recovery in your community?
Yeah, it's
And it's-
basically treatment and prevention.
Treatment and prevention, and the state is the one doing it, so the state's asking cities and counties to do this self-assessment, and basically what this advisory council would do, and what they call you, or whoever would appoint, coordinator, basically would sit down and do the paperwork that did the assessment of your city and county, and said, what tools does your city and county offer for recovery and becoming recovery ready? And it's, if I remember right, it was not just treatment, it was education, it was prevention, it involved schools, law enforcement.
Yep.
And when we went down that checklist at that meeting today, Louisa already qualified for, I mean, we already have 90% of everything they was asking you to have.
That's correct.
So I think there might have been, I can't remember, there was a few things we just had.
We weren't sure about what was happening at the school as far as the
Exactly.
the
We
prevention
don't know
program.
how much prevention or education is going on in the schools right now, so there was some stuff about that on there. And, it's really not a big deal. It's not anything you have to do. It's just the state trying to, promote recovery across the state, and asking cities and counties to wear this label. If you're a city and county that offers recovery ready stuff, then you meet the criteria. If you don't, you don't. You know, and some cities will do it and some won't. I mean,
That's right.
am I right? Pretty
Yes, sir.
much.
You are.
So as far as what it requires us to do, Bud,
Connect with the health department.
yeah,
You assess what they're doing, check the box. Connect with the schools, assess what they're doing, check the box. I'm not gonna come back to the city council, or the coordinator won't come back here and say, well, you need to do this, this, and this.
No.
It's not like that at all. It's just, it's a ornamental certification
Yes.
that will open the door to other programs, other funding down the road a little while.
In other words, this means nothing.
Well, it means a lot to people who are in recovery, sir. It means a lot to the stigma and the shame that's associated with substance use disorder, mental health disorders, so. it
I
means a lot
think
to
the
me.
goal is worthy, okay, I'm not questioning the worthiness of the goal, but it's got like City and Lawrence, California Local Recovery Community Coordinator, that's fine. And then establish a recovery-ready communities, I mean, does the county and fiscal court do that jointly, or?
Yes, sir.
the county and I both felt like that instead of trying to do it separately, if you're gonna do it, you might as well just do it as no bigger than we are. I mean, because anything that we have in the city, it also serves the county, and anything you have in the county also serves the city. So, me and Vince both felt like that it made no sense to try to do this separately, if you was gonna do it all.
Oh, I totally agree, but I still don't understand what we're committing to, but
So you're
there's a lot of
asking
things
us-
above my head.
You're asking us to allow you to apply on the city's behalf, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I think that's a fair assessment.
Okay.
And just recognize that there's a program that exists that would certify Louisa and Lawrence County as recovery ready, and then appoint or allow a coordinator, I would volunteer to do that, to make application and check with all the stakeholders and check the boxes and send it in.
So you become coordinator, and then you go out and find grants and things like that to apply for on behalf of the city as well?
Well, that would be another conversation down the road. The next time you would see me is when we receive the certificate, and I would present it back to the city council, and then we could decide what we wanna do with it at that point, if that's something we
There's
want.
no guarantee that there's gonna be more funding down the road, but that's suspected across the state. And the other cities that I meet with at KLC is that as opioid abatement dollars become more in the future, cities that are meeting this recovery ready status are probably gonna be better in line to receive those grant dollars. Now, that's just speculation, but that's what's being speculated across the state.
And I'm assuming
That makes sense?
it's like, you know, we got that OPID money, and council voted to give a certain amount of, I think it was $3,000 to, I don't know if it's JJ Jordan, but that little thing where they was going to train nurses, that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking it's kinda like, that's the city's way of supporting this.
So how much is ARC behind this? Are they involved with this?
How much is ARC, yeah? Well, ARC being a, you know, a member of the city and the county and an employer here, and a lot of people, I work for ARC, so full disclosure, you know, we're invested in, you know, recovery, we're invested in, helping people find a pathway to, you know, to realize their God-given destiny. And
So you could advertise that we're a recovery-ready community, so more people would come to support your ARC program.
I'm not part of the marketing department, so I'm not sure.
But that could be used as a marketing tool.
Again, I'm not part of the marketing team, so I can't really comment on that, but, you know, this is a resolution, it's for the city, it's for people that are seeking recovery. You know, we all are here because of this resolution.
Is there any kind of fee involved in applying to this?
No, sir.
What about the coordinator's position? Will that be a paid position or volunteer, or who pays it?
I would volunteer to do that for free.
Okay.
And I think that, if I remember right, in that one meeting, the advisory council would be one in each city. Like each city or county would have a small council, and then one member from that's gonna be a part of a bigger statewide advisory council
Yes.
that advises officials on this type of stuff.
That is correct.
Okay.
You know, a welcoming, open armed community like Louisa, I was able to get a job and contribute to society and, you know, no longer be such a drain on, you know, on my family and on the community. So it's things like this that really open the door for people to come out and ask for help, and, you know, instead of trying to hide and get a next, you know, steal and everything else, all the dysfunction that we see. This gives people permission to come out and say, hey, I want to be in recovery too. I want to get some help. I want to get a better job. I want to contribute to this town. And, so I think this is just, it's ornamental in the fact that it's not asking for a lot. It's asking just for a vote and approval. But I think the reward is great. I think it says, it makes a statement. It helps to reduce the stigma and the shame that's associated with substance use disorders, and it helps people to come out of their shell and you know, transform their lives, which you all have seen many times over in this town. You know, it's the whole. There's a lot of people around here in recovery that wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the open arms that they've received here in Louisa.
Recovery aside for just a minute, and talk about real quickly the issue I deal with on a daily basis. And that's mental illness and homelessness. Now, I'm sure there's some recovery involved in that as well, but there's also some of that mental illness and homeless that's not involved with recovery. And I feel like with the mental illness and the homeless issue, we drastically need for all agencies and programs and offices to pull together and coordinate a response from everyone. And I think that's kind of what the state's trying to get you to do here, more on the recovery side. But I know I deal with it on a daily basis, and I understand how we need it so badly on the mental illness and the homeless side. We have this group of doing this, and we have this group of doing that, and the city's doing this, and the police officers doing this, and I just don't use names, but healthcare providers are doing this, but we're not working cohesively to a problem. And again, glad recovery aside, just for the homelessness, the mental health. So I'm assuming, I see that that's what the state is trying to do here on the recovery side. Is that, you're a
Yes.
professional,
Yeah.
mental health, is that a good assessment?
No, I would completely agree with that. Yeah, I work in the same field.
Yeah.
I would completely agree with that, and assumption, I'd not heard of this before, but my assumption would be that this is a way to kind of start to prioritize and get communities kind of bringing together and, focusing on recovery as a whole versus those different parts. Yeah, absolutely.
Need to move forward with some property acquisition, which is gonna involve relocation of citizens and things like that. And so there's guidelines you have to go by when federal dollars is gonna be spent to do relocation. Code, you probably didn't do it with road and stuff. So basically, we had to hire a relocation assistance agent. This guy right here is who the board chose, Kevin Hand. He's done it for the road department for years. And basically,
Where was it? Okay.
basically, what we're asking is that Kentucky Engineers is wanting to amend their contract, which is currently designed for, or currently in place to design the sewer plant. They're wanting to amend it enough to pay this here, which is $18,000. So they're gonna pay that out of this grant, so it's no cost to us now. But they're asking for their contract to be increased $18,000 on the end when we ever start design, or when we ever start building the sewer plant. Basically, it's. You see the total contract amount prior to this contract amendment was $1,033,000. That's for total, Cody, of the whole entire project. That's design, what do y'all call it, inspection, all that. Well, it's probably spelled out on the back. Yeah. And so what he's wanting to do, instead of us having to pay this $18,000 out of our bank account for this relocation service, they're gonna amend the contract for the engineer, include the $18,000 in his cost, pay him out of this grant money, and it'll just be added on in the end when we get the. It's a way for us to move forward without spending our money. Just an amendment to a contract. The board, utility board is approved. Have a motion, we approve.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. McClanahan, second by Mr. Rowe. Any questions? I hope us. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The second one you all actually voted on last month, but this is now on paper. Last month I just told you about it. We gotta move the 10-inch water main that comes off the tank on Town Hill due to the, work that's been done up on top of the hill. And, it's gonna be paid for by a grant, 100%. There's no match to us. You all, approved that. We used Kentucky Engineering Group last month because we went through the procurement process, ran the newspaper, and picked the most qualified engineer. So basically, this right here is just, an engineering agreement with them just for their engineering. And the amount of it is $423,820, the project cost, the total project cost. This is just for engineering.
This actually was voted on last,
You all voted on it last month, but we didn't have a
right,
contract
we didn't
yet.
have the copy.
But this is not installation.
No, well, what do you mean now? The contract you're looking at is not, it is
Okay, that's what
engineering.
I'm saying.
But here is a copy that should be stapled to it. The total cost is $423,820. Again, that's a project that's gonna be no cost to the city. And Bud and I are just over redundant. You all had already voted on it last month, but we didn't have it in writing yet. So since we got it in writing, we just wanted you to vote on it again. Have a motion we approve. Motion by Mr. Farley, second by Mr. McClanahan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and the last item on the agenda, if you all would entertain a motion, I would like, it involves a property,
Mayor, can I say something?
yeah,
Just so council knows, cause I know we have some new council members, and I can't hear all the votes. But if you don't make a vote, then your vote goes down in the minutes as whatever the majority was. So if you want to say no, you need to let me know. If not, you're gonna be on here as a yes.
Throw up the red flag. If you want to, your service agreement.
Motion will return to the regular.
Motion by Ms. Lester,
I second that.
second by Mr. Chapin. All in favor?
Aye.
While we were in executive session, we discussed the possibility of signing an easement with Columbia Gas to allow them to do some work they need to do over on Benson Avenue, which lasts approximately 40 days. There will be a temporary service use agreement for them to park their equipment and do the project, and then also some permanent easement for one small section of where they need to move the line for a compensatory amount. But we need to disclose that.
Yeah, I think we need to disclose it because of the transaction, the two, the rental and the purchase, and then we have to have a vote on it in open session.
Okay, and it would include, $5,000 easement and $10,000 for the, surface use agreement, for a total of $15,000 that would be deposited in the city's general fund.
I think I got those numbers wrong there. It was at 5,000?
For the easement,
Okay.
10,000 for the temporary easement.
I'm sorry, I was coughing.
Do I have a motion, we approve those easements? Motion by Mr. Rhodes, second by Mr. McClanahan. Any questions? And with that, all in favor?
Aye.
With that, there will be some disturbances over on that back street, beginning in about 10 days, lasting about 40 days. We'll be doing some testing of the, gas line and replacing some old valves, which is all good news for us. It's all safety stuff that's great news for us. So we're gonna do everything we can to work with them. Fire department's already met with them, and we're gonna move forward on that.
They know where the water lines are.
Yeah.
We can't work when we don't have water. Yeah, they call before they do.
What else is on here? Okay, the only other thing that, I wanna tell y'all two things. And I need to look at my calendar real quick. The future, remodeling or, refurbing of the fire station, potentially involving City Hall and the property around it. It would not be an official city council meeting, so you all are welcome to be a part of the planning. You don't have to be. We would not have to have a quorum to have the meeting. It would involve myself, any of you guys and girls, and fire and police, maybe Tammy from the water office and Kathy from the clerk's office. It's concerning the future, maybe projects involving the buildings here. Looking at my schedule, I'm usually in groove on Tuesdays, because I have one the first Tuesday and the second Tuesday. 6 p.m.
You'll bring the food?
Bring food. Again, it'll be open to the public. It'll be an open to the public meeting, but it's more of a planning meeting to discuss some options that, may or may not be in our future concerning the fire station renovations and city hall renovations. The only other thing, the two financial documents, Kathy might have confused you because you got two of them. One is the old budget that is now complete and exhausted, and the other one is the new one, which all new expenditures will be applied to. The one would say 2022 on top, one would say 2023.
And I don't really think we need to do any budget amendments because
Not really. the auditor will be
Yeah.
fine with these
Yeah.
totals.
Should I say there was one thing that went over, and it wasn't their fault, in the fire department, if you notice, they went over $9,000. No other department went over at all, but this one only went over because I transferred money out of Station 2, but we hadn't budgeted to do that, which we should have. So that's not a big enough deal to
It was
do
more
an
of a
amendment, but that's why that one shows.
budget area to start